Alright, so for those of you just tuning in, we're about to spectate some free-for-all King of the Hill on the map Budapest as part of my weekly Twitch TV live streams. If you'd like to get in on this, then you can find my live stream schedule by going to my Twitch page and scrolling underneath the video player there. I do update my schedule every few days, and if you follow me on Facebook and Twitter, you will get updates on when I'm streaming next. So, the plan is today, free-for-all King of the Hill on the map Budapest, so that means that every player will spawn with 2 town centers, 2 scouts, twice the villagers, double sets of resources and everything. It's also going to be diplomacy, so that means that we're not going to have locked teams. Players will be encouraged to form alliances and backstab each other at the last minute. This is King of the Hill, so the player that holds the hill when the timer hits 0 wins the game. You can form alliances, but only one player may win. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into this game as soon as player 8 readies up. And we're in. GLHF, guys. Looking forward to this one. Now, I'm actually, you can probably tell, I'm still sick with the same cold I've had for like the last week or so, man, it's gonna be a while before I can kick this one, but I'm slowly getting better. Thank you so much for the 4-month resub, Taco Master 34. So we're gonna start by briefly introducing the players. In the red, we have Torminator playing as the Japanese, and then we have Snowflake playing as the Green Koreans. We have Moon Sorrow playing as the Gray Vikings, Rabbit Tortoise playing as the Teal Chinese, the Avenger playing as the Purple Spanish, Goodbye Mr. A playing as the Yellow Malians, and the Great Mighty Poop playing as the Orange Britons. This is going to be an interesting game because these players are going to have to manage 2 town centers at once, 2 bases, 2 scouts, all of that jazz, and that means that it's going to require a lot of micro and control that these players are not really used to. Most people are not used to having to manage 2 bases simultaneously, so I expect to see a lot of just miscellaneous idle time here. Oh, look at Rabbit Tortoise, he's scouted in the shape of a heart. Oh, that's so cute. We have to cheer for Rabbit Tortoise this game, then. Thank you so much, Leno, for the $5. He says, "Hi, Rez. After watching your videos for about a good year now on YouTube, this is the first time I've actually caught you on stream. Be gentle with me, Kappa." Thank you so much, Leno, for the $5 and for tuning in. I hope to see you in the future, man. Welcome to the stream. Now, if these players want to be jerks, they can start rushing each other with the double scouts, but, you know, that is just mean, so kind of frowned upon here. What a crazy, crazy looking map. So let's see, I'm going to pick one of these players and we'll talk a little bit about one of their civs to start. We've got the Avenger here. Okay, so he's going to be playing as the Spanish. Spanish are a very valuable civ in a team game because of their trade bonus, which has actually been nerfed in patch 4.8 to 25% increased trade income compared to 33%. Which is not that significant, but it's something that tones down their value in team games for sure. Thank you so much, TCW7468 for the sub, as well as Nognix for the follow. Thank you, guys. If you do sub with Twitch Prime, remember that you do have to manually renew that. Well, that is a crazy-looking monument. Oh my god, what civ is that for? Yeah, so the Spanish are also known for their strong gunpowder and just a broad tech tree. The Spanish have access to a wide variety of units, like fully upgraded Hussars, Paladins, Infantry units. They have excellent gunpowder, bombard cannons, pretty good siege workshop, no siege engineers. Their Conquistador rush in the Castle Age is certainly a legitimate threat, so overall the Spanish are a fairly well-rounded civilization, and generally just a boon to have in your team. So the Britons, again, fairly straightforward civilization with a decently strong early game due to the fact that their shepherds work 25% faster, and then they have a pretty reasonably strong boom as well due to their discounted 10 centers. Then they have strong archers, not so great cavalry, and they have very good infantry. A good Britons player tries to make good use of their infantry units in order to win the game. This lumber camp placement is a little bit suboptimal. It should actually be like touching the trees. That way his villagers spend less time walking because the tree line recedes away from you pretty quickly. With the gold mine, you do want to have like a 1-tile space because the gold tiles last significantly longer, but for a forest, you start losing out in value a lot quicker if you end up putting your lumber camp so far away. Oh, it's the Indian building mod wonder. Okay, yeah. I actually recently got the Indian building mod on the Steam Workshop, which is pretty darn sick. So let's take a look at our Snowflake friend over here, whose name I cannot pronounce despite being half German. So he's the Koreans. So the Koreans are basically our late game powerhouse in Age of Empires 2. There are a lot of things that make a Civ very strong in the late game. In this case, we looked at things like, do we have gunpowder? Do we have very powerful late game units? And they do, that are expensive. So how do we know it's a late game unit? It's expensive, or the upgrades cost a lot, or there are a lot of upgrades. So things that would be late game units would be like the Siege Onager, the War Wagon, of which they have both, and their Siege Onagers happen to be very, very strong. They have gunpowder, which is, again, has a lot of a very large tech prerequisite. So overall, the Koreans are very strong in the late game, but they don't really have much of a substantial early game economy bonus, so they're pretty vulnerable to rushes. Faster stone mining is just not that useful in the early stages of the game, and you really have to watch out in the later stages for the Korean Death Ball, which is composed of siege weapons, maybe some halberdiers in the front to keep cavalry units off you, and there's very powerful range units in the back, like things like war wagons, hand cannoneers, etc. Maybe some skirms. And let's see, we got the Vikings over here. So the Vikings are a civilization that we don't see that often on land, because even though they are very strong on the water in the classic 1.0C Age of Empires 2 balance that we all grew up with, due to their cheaper docks and cheaper warships, it's just that on the land they've always been the type of civilizations very strong in the feudal and castle age, due to free wheelbarrow and free handcart, but in the and even in the early Imperial Age, just in the later Imperial Age, they have like a significant weakness to cavalry units because they don't have halberdiers. Pikemen actually deal less damage to cavalry units than halberdiers do. Ooh, no, everyone has to take a drink now. Absolute disaster is poor Moonsour over here, trying to manage 2 town centers at the same time. It's a lot to handle, man. It really is, so... Poor guy. Anyway, the Vikings did get some rather significant buffs in patch 4.8, and this one's really cool, and we have to give some credit to Decision here for the idea. So Chieftains, the unique tech that they were given in the DLCs on HD Edition on Steam, gives their Berserks like +4 attack versus cavalry, I think, which really helps in the later stage of the game, because that's when the Vikings struggle against those paladin civs. The Vikings just don't have a lot of like high-tech late-game value units, no paladins. They have absolutely awful cavalry, some of the worst in the game. And then, as the game drags on, champions become easier to deal with as players are just, throwing out hand cannoneers, and they just happen to have a large enough economy to just field out paladins like no one's business. So that's when the Vikings usually fall off, but Chieftains was recently changed so that Chieftains affects all infantry units instead of just Berserks, which means that their champions and their pikemen are better versus cavalry than they were before, which is great. So I really like the idea of the Chieftains technology, and I think this was an excellent change. Harmasio99 asks, Resonance22, how do you play online? Well, if you purchase Age of Empires 2 HD Edition on Steam, you're able to play online really easily. And also, if you purchase Aoe2 HD, you can also install the Voobly client and then install the compatibility patch and play there. Or you can just use HD normally to just play online through Steam. It's very straightforward, so you just have to purchase it on Steam and you're good to go. Anyway, let's see. What other civs do we have here? We have Goodbye Mr. A, our yellow Malians player. So, Malians are a civ that got nerfed a lot in patch 4.8 because they just happen to be really overbearing. I talked about this in my How Balanced Are the New Civilizations video, where the fact that they're 15% discounted buildings applied to farms was just a little bit too much. That really pushed them over the edge. So they did end up sustaining a couple of nerfs here and there. Some of them are really, really big and a little bit controversial, but overall I still think that the Malians are a good civ in the end. They lost Halberdier, their building bonus no longer applies to farms, and their Elite Gabito lost 1 attack. Elite Gabito is a unit that's a lot stronger than it seems. It's kind of like a substitute for hand cannoneers in a way. It's a really good, like, range support unit at the back of your army, a very good way to protect your siege weapons. Overall, though, the Malians are just, I think, an excellent civ overall and still very well-rounded, and the thing that really sets them apart from all the other civs is that their infantry units gain +1 pierce armor every age starting the feudal age, so in the end game, their champions have an additional 3 pierce armor, same with their pikemen, which makes them very, very difficult to deal with. They are lacking blast furnace, though, so the best way to deal with the Malians is with your own champions, because generally the Malians are going to lose that trade, just like your own powerful melee units, and they no longer have the Halberdier, which does really nerf them quite a bit. So we will expect to see some sort of strong infantry army comp here from Yellow, maybe with some like hand cannoneers or siege weapons at the back, or some Gabitos. And overall, yeah, Chinese, fairly straightforward civilization, in that they are just super duper well-rounded. The Chinese have their discounted technologies, which certainly gives them a bonus over the long period of the game. And then like the Spanish, they're very valuable in a team game because they give like additional food on everyone's farms, which is actually quite nice. Chinese have a very awkward start, but if you're able to get past that in one piece, then they are just a strong civilization. Elite Chukanu, an excellent unit, and really the Chinese are just capable of making just about any unit. So it looks like Orange has a couple of spears to defend himself, a little bit of an outpost. I feel like he could just very easily close this off, but doesn't really matter. He's got the outpost, so he knows the Teal's coming, and it looks like the Teal's already walled off on the side. No real action right off the bat. These players just kind of walling up here, content to play on the defensive. Thank you so much, Gudiger, for the 50 bits, since this is my Z-powered form. Thank you, Gudiger, much appreciated. You've crashed my CLR browser again. Why does that always happen? It's like, do I need to update that? Like, every time I get a bit donation, only from you, my CLR browser crashes. 1 second, guys. I need to fix that. Okay, well, I think I fixed it. Japanese, Spirit of the Law's favorite civilization, and just an excellent, well-rounded one at that. It's really nice that their resource drop-off buildings cost 50% less. It does help them save quite a bit of wood in the long run. And overall, I do really like the Japanese. They're also fairly well-rounded civ with an obvious emphasis on infantry. The 25% faster attacking infantry gives them a just tremendously powerful, tremendous, believe me. I've played a lot of civilizations and they tell me the Japanese are some of the best halberdiers in the game. They do! Or halberdiers, as I've been mispronouncing that for so long that it's just kind of ingrained in me. They have the best, some of the best halberdiers in the game, essentially because the 25% faster attack speed just has them just shred through cavalry, cuts right through that cavalry army like a knife through butter. And in the later stages of the game, when gold is precious, it is really nice to have a strong trash line. And they did get bloodlines in the DLC, which means that their light cavalry are now certainly acceptable. They have excellent, fully upgraded elite skirmishers, hand cannoneers. The Japanese are quite a strong civilization. They even got treadmill crane in the last patch, which is just a little bit of extra power for them. So, and they have, you know, elite samurai, which do sometimes come into play. I do like the Japanese overall. I'm just gonna keep calling it. I'm just gonna keep calling them halberdiers because that's just what I'm used to doing. This map, Desnect, is Budapest, where all right, everyone has to take a drink. There we go, there's the moonwalking villager. It's been a little while since I've seen that, and, you know, I wish all the bugs in the game were like that, because that one I don't really want to see fixed. It gives Skybox one less thing to worry about on their millions of bugs, the list ever growing, because that one is actually pretty entertaining. And that's one of the few things that HD has that Voobly does not. So right now it looks like Yellow has a fairly low score, and he is indeed going for what appears to be knights. Double stable. He's got like a little bit of everything military building wise. Or it looks like he's just prepping for the apocalypse, as he does indeed have all these military buildings, but he's not really producing anything out of them. So he's putting down a second barrack. So I guess just Yellow just wants to make sure that he's prepared for the situation. But I think right now he's making the right call, and the thing that he should be doing is focusing his economy, so it's good to see him putting down all these additional town centers, so he definitely does want to do that. His base is kind of open, but he is indeed allied with Torm, so it should be fine. Is he allied with Purple as well? So it looks like Yellow has established some pretty solid early alliances. He's got a very good wall off at the front, so he's actually very safe, assuming that he does not get backstabbed. Dark Mage asks, can I drink milk instead of alcohol? Absolutely, you can drink whatever you want. Take a hit from your bowl, sip some water, stay hydrated, do whatever you need to do. Let's see. So, Armara says, hi, welcome to the stream, Armara11, hello NeoRum as well. Django91 says, hey, I realized that not too many players use, while clicking Feudal Age Saloon, if you have an extra 50 food, you can press C while you hit the research, so that you reduce TC idle time due to the delay in the game. Yeah, so basically you can just make sure that you're, like, mashing the hotkey while you're researching something to make sure that you create the villager and reduce that little bit of delay. I think that it helps a little bit. Tokuraka says, oh no, the person who I said I hardly ever place isn't a noob and doesn't know how to keep his TC always working. What I meant is that I haven't played with him in ages. Ah, okay. Well, welcome back, man. Moonsaro has got a pikeman to defend himself. When you're doing these sort of free-for-all King of the... is he going in on Torm? What is this? He's going for the Viking pikeman rush? Is this it? Going straight for the town center? Is this the counter that Spirit of the Law hasn't told us yet? Or where's he going? Target's locked. Moon Sorrow. Heat-seeking pikemen. Where are they going? Is he just sending them all the way over to yellow? Interesting. Really curious about this. I feel like pikemen are best used. Good to see him, by the way, with a +1 defense. I think that in this type of free-for-all King of the Hill game, that the general idea is to make sure that you defend yourself early and you don't take too many unnecessary risks. You secure some alliances with people who are geographically adjacent to you, and then once you get, you know, really strong and your opponent, you know, like your teammates or something, like you've seized the monument and the timer has hit 100 years left, that's when you betray them and you move in and you try and hold it. It takes actually a lot of strategy to know exactly how far ahead you are in the game to be able to make that decision of when you should betray people. I do think that rushing your adjacent neighbor, assuming that, you know, you think that you're able to do it without really crippling yourself, is certainly a viable option. I feel like people are a little bit too passive in these free-for-all King of the Hill games, and that attacking earlier on can be a viable thing. It's just I would never go all in. I think you should rush your opponents in a free-for-all King of the Hill, but I don't think I would ever, you know, delete my town center and Persian douche them or try and castle drop them necessarily, unless there are some situations where I think a castle drop is probably fine. Looks like we are actually experiencing a little bit of combat. In the meanwhile, Dual Spires has subscribed. Thank you, Dual Spires. So it looks like Teal has a pretty well-balanced group of dudes. He's got some knights, and he has some elite skirmishers, but it looks like the Avenger will be defending with a couple of monks, and this is generally a correct response to knights. Knights are very expensive, so when your opponent gets a conversion awe, it's a huge momentum swing in his favor, so it's just great to see Purple making all the appropriate counter units. Teal does have like a fairly well-balanced group of dudes, but he just does not have enough military units yet to apply that pressure, and he did end up losing quite a few knights to those conversions. But he's moving in with the forward castle here, just to protect this stone mine. This will be a rather rude awakening for Purple. Let's go swap over to Purple's perspective. So a lot of pressure on him. I expect to see some Chuko news on the way. The hell is that? What? What? Okay, well, I have never seen that before. Oh, see something new every day. Perhaps everybody should take a sip of their milk. I guess there's some sort of like sync logger thing going on in patch 4.8. That's interesting. That must be fairly new, or I don't know. Either way, Chuganu's coming out. This is a fairly intimidating army to deal with. So he's got all the upgrades that he needs. He's got Bloodlines +1 defense. You want to be prioritizing your defense upgrades with your melee units early on. And by the way, it looks like those pikemen were probably just stationed here to defend red, or they just ended up walking there and misclick. Not a big deal. It's a well-balanced army comp. If you're Purple, what do you do in this situation? Because Rabbit Tortoise is absolutely huge. What the hell is that, and how do I turn that off? Why is it spamming the chat? I've never seen that before. 100 frame history usage. Absolutely no idea. So if you're Purple, Knights are still very good against this army. That's why there are a couple Spearmen thrown in here. Knights are still really good. Because we have like elite skirmishers, we have Chukanus, two things that are weak to knights, unless your opponent has like a critical mass of them, and then, you know, knights versus knights, which is just neutral. So overall, your own cavalry units will be pretty good here, as long as there aren't too many spearmen thrown in from Teal. So Teal can sort out that cavalry weakness to his army, then Purple will need to make a wider variety of units to take this down, which you'll probably need to do anyway. I think mixing in some spears is also appropriate as a way to just deal with those knights in like a value trade. Overall, though, Purple's going to need some help, so let's swap back to his perspective and see exactly who are his allies and why are they being so shitty to him. Does Purple not have any allies at all? He's like allied with Yellow or something, right? But Yellow's not allied with him, is that what this is? No, they're allied together. I guess the Avenger does not have cartography. Okay, so goodbye, Mr. A. If he is going to be a good ally, I should probably swoop in here and give him a hand. That would be nice. Let's see. Wireless Dude asks, do you delay the stream when you start to know when cheats, or do you rely on fair play? I rely on fair play because we have one of the best communities on Twitch, and I trust everybody to a fault, so I'd like to think that everybody here is going to play fairly. But it's not like I give away really that much valuable information through listening into my cast. But I just ask that they don't anyway, and since I know everybody here, I think it's fine. I try to get to know everybody pretty well and be nice to people, because I usually find that when people are, dicks in the internet, it's usually because they feel like they're not being listened to. And that if you actually get to know people, that most people are very, very nice. So regardless, Purple taking a lot of pressure here. The players who are a little bit behind in score are that way because they probably just don't have enough villagers. So we're at 84 population for our purple player here. We swap over to Rabbit Tortoise. He's at 145. Great Mighty Poop, 138, so well played. Well played from him. Good to see him prioritizing fletching for his archeriness. Excellent defensive castle placement on his part, protecting his town center and his economy. Swap over to... I like how it brings me to, like, the wrong person. 128, that's a pretty good population. So it looks like Orange is actually sending backup to help Teal push into Purple, so Purple might just straight up die here. Meanwhile, not too much going on in the middle. Orange has been holding the hill for quite some time. We're not really going to pay too much attention to the center monument until it hits about 100 years remaining, and that's when things really start to hit the fan. Teal moving in, building some forward buildings. Fortified wall out for Gray. Just trying to protect himself, give himself that extra insurance. Purple kind of dying, might need to evacuate his base, so good to see him with additional town centers. Quite nice. Oh my goodness. Oh, hello J-Man Cook 54. Welcome to the stream. Glad to hear that you're still watching stuff on YouTube. I have a lot of crazy stuff on the way, and perhaps by the time I post this on YouTube, I will have already made all of my December announcements. I'm not exactly sure. But regardless, we have a lot of surprises on the way for December. Some huge projects I've been working on. Some videos and whatnot. And then I will start playing again on stream. I'll be doing a little bit of that. Orange moving in here, building a lot of additional forward buildings. The reason that these players are doing this is that way, it's the player who has units remaining on the hill when the timer hits 0 wins. So, and we know who has control over it based off the color of the timer in the top right. So basically, if you're constantly streaming units into the middle of the map because you have so many adjacent barracks, archer ranges, etc., then you're more likely to actually hold on to it. We also see players in King of the Hill, they'll do things like, they'll put like siege rams just stationed on stand ground right next to the center monument because those just happen to have a lot of health. Same thing with things like trebuchets. Yellow is sending some backup here. He's trying his best, but it looks like they're just getting overwhelmed by the mass archers on the part of Orange and Teal. And I do think the mangonels are the way to go. He just has nothing really to protect them. Purple making the right decisions, but he's just too far behind. He can't really deal with both of these players simultaneously. It was nice to see some elite skirmishers on the part of Yellow. It's just that, Malian elite skirmishers get a lot worse over the course of the game. They still don't really have an answer to this, like, one Cavalier. Sun Cavalier is a real terror. They need something mixed in with their like archer counters to protect their mangonels and their elite skirmishers, because otherwise it's just not going to quite work out. 150 years remaining. Yeah, there are announcements on the way. These big announcements. Yeah, I'll post this on YouTube, regardless of whether or not the match is like particularly close. I realize that some people get upset when like the players either like don't play really well. Or the match isn't really close, but I have absolutely no control over that, and I'd rather post it anyway. Like, I will do the Britons versus Goss one again, as I've read your feedback and heard you loud and clear. Thank you, Sync-Logger. I will definitely do that one again. I'm going to try and focus on making the Civ matchup videos in the future, containing, like, higher-rated players. I do think that was a really good example, though, of how players often misplay that, and I think that it makes it more educational. Because we get to see those mistakes, but I understand that people want to see those matchups played more optimally, so yes, don't worry, I will do that one again. Well. Here comes Gray with a very strong army. See, this is one of my favorite little things that you can do with the Vikings. So you have a large group of infantry units and you back them up with onagers. I do think you want to back them up with onagers, even though no one wants to because they're feeling a little bit lazy. But you do want to back up your infantry with onagers. That way you don't get owned so hard by the Britons' mass archers, or just archer civs in general. And then now you just have a very, very scary army comp. I think the Berserk as a unique unit is just kind of underrated. I think it's actually fairly good. It's just you have the downside of you having to produce it from a castle, which just kind of balance it out. Yellow trying very hard to defend Purple, but it looks like Purple's not going to die, so this is great. So they did a good job holding on. Yellow does need to probably mix in something beyond just you know, these elite skirmishers. I feel like teal is kind of holding back, but still able to push this in quite nicely because he just has like a single mangonel and a couple halberdiers, which just deal with those skirmishers very efficiently. The timer is ticking. It is ticking, and Gray has definitive control of the middle. He is allied with Green. It's a very large army of trash units. Good to see these players being conservative with their gold. In a free-for-all game, you know, you're not necessarily going to have a reliable source of gold income as opposed to a normal team game, because establishing a trade route's risky when you never know if someone's going to betray you. So you do want to trade whenever you can, but being conservative with the gold is a good idea. And, you know, having things like relics can really pay off in the long run. Great to see these two working together. This is what you should be doing. Now is not the time to betray Gray. You only want to betray him when the timer hits less than 100 years, and then you really need to start thinking about your odds. So Green should be helping Gray clear out all these guys, and then, you know, maybe switch on Gray. And now is around the time when he maybe wants to consider it. Just because putting this castle right here is a big risk for Green to allow that one to go up. If he could just move his halbs just right underneath those onagers and just take them all out, that would be kind of nice. Maybe he's just waiting for the perfect opportunity. I do think that Green might be just a little bit too conservative with his gold, though. I think he does want to mix in some siege weapons of some description, I think would be a good idea. A couple bombard cannons. Why? Otherwise he's going to have a lot of trouble dealing with those onagers. And, well, maybe Green's just hoping that Gray will back off the center. Oh, I mean, Tough Man, if you're a little bit rusty, maybe go for, like, the mixed rated game. Might be a good idea. So this Civ Monument Isopyrum, good to see you, my friend, is actually part of the Indian architecture mod you can find on Steam. I think this onager got stuck inside. So we're at 80 years remaining, so things are getting a little bit dicey for Green here. You're starting to really question your alliance with this guy. Maybe you want to start thinking about an alliance with someone else. And it looks like Red parked back here. Very strong-looking Japanese army. I feel like Haparams remind me of the shredded wheat cereal. And it looks like these guys are going to need to betray Gray very, very soon. Teal moving in at the backside, but aha! Snowball, our green player, has finally betrayed Gray. And now Gray has to race to open his diplomacy menu as fast as he can. He's struggling right now. He just had to, to set himself to enemies with Green. Except, really, Green doesn't have anything particularly threatening here. And is he just using the attack ground? No, he has switched to enemy. So Green's army just kind of going to get demolished here. And Red maybe asleep at the wheel? This is when you guys betray Gray together, and I think that Red kind of missed out in the memo here, and should really go now, because the clock is ticking. Everybody understands that Gray has definitive control of the middle. Red gains nothing from waiting any longer than this. This is why I always remind these players in the lobby that when the timer drops below 100 years, it's go time. And we're at 50, 60 years remaining, so go time was a while ago. The problem is when these players don't end up all betraying the winning player at the same time, they drastically reduce their own chances of winning. And they make it so that Gray only has to defend against like one guy at a time, and this makes it very likely for him to hold the line. Is Red AFK? I don't know why he's waiting. Meanwhile, Gray holding the line versus every single player in the game almost at the same time. I think everybody here there should be alarm bells going off in their head. Wow, that is risky as hell for him to wait 50 years. I think he's going to get away with it, but that was risky as hell. Yeah, basically, when the timer hits like 50 years, that's when everybody in the game should put aside their differences and make sure that they clear out the person in the middle. Make sure that it happens. Gray will indeed lose control of the middle for sure here. Red biding his time, but he has come in. He is the definitive factor here. Gray will not be the winner, at least not yet. Stands no chance against that fully upgraded army of elite samurai, so good on Terminator. Now has definitive control of the middle. Who will fight him next? I wonder if they're all going to switch to enemy with him. Okay, Gray has literally no allies right now. That's so brutal. So over to Red's perspective. Actually brought me to the correct town center. Thank you, Aoe2 HD. So it looks like Torm is still allied with yellow and green? Yeah, okay. So that's fine. And now Ooh, okay, so the Chinese player is moving forward and building a bunch of forward bombard towers. This also is very good in your general free-for-all King of the Hill game, or whenever you're just trying to hold on to some map control. The bombard towers can be very tedious and difficult to remove, so great to see these players taking advantage of that. I think it'd actually be cool to see some of them from green. Also, yellow is finally getting his upgrades and transitioning to units that are stronger for him, just kind of bullying teal on the side. Mostly because he can't really get to the center monument unless he actually deals with teal. Teal has indeed full upgrades. So does Red have those cap rams in here because he's going for the win? If he is, that's really clever, as those cap rams are very, very bulky. And green's still on his side. It's just he's having a lot of difficulty actually defending these rams, which apparently can go right through. So the collision detection is totally broken on the monument. I wonder if you can abuse that. You can't destroy the wonder. Hey, Bokon, it has been so very long. Welcome back. I'm really glad to see you again. Welcome, welcome, my friend. Orange is a huge army. Just good to see all these players making a well-balanced army with units that cover each other's weaknesses. Red has a lot of capped rams, but this single onager could be enough to remove it. Teal moving in from the side. I do not think this will be Red's time to shine. And this is an important thing to note. I think green is making the right play by not betraying Red here. You do not want to betray your ally unless you think that he is going to win. And I don't think that that Red possibly has a chance at winning on this push. And then in that case, your alliance with him is actually precious. It's very, very important to keep those diplomatic relationships rolling. That is a really good onager shot. Now that being said, maybe Red has a shot at winning here? You do kind of have to watch this really carefully because Teal's hands are tied, actually. Teal having to deal with yellow. He's no longer sending enough military units to the middle. Actually, yeah, now it's time to go. Okay, so your fun little vacation time over here is over. Your army's going the wrong way, buddy. Teal's too busy with yellow right now. Teal is going to start sending some military units over here, but we do really have to watch out for this guy. Where are these military units going? I think this friendship is starting to look dangerous. This was fine a moment ago, but it's absolutely not. I hope he is watching the middle. He's going to be so close if he doesn't end up actually attacking back. It's going to be way too close. I still don't think this is Red's time to win, but oh man, he better be watching this real closely. Here come a couple of paladins from purple. Teal is cleaning out the left side of the monument. Orange from below. Okay, yeah, this is getting really dicey. You cannot afford to take this risk at this point. And yet it looks like he is just content to kill gray. Huge mistake, my friend. We're at 34 years remaining. This is no longer a comfortable risk. Please, my friend. Oh my. Red doing such a great job keeping control of the center hill. And this is really difficult because he's dealing with so many players at the same time. I actually think that yellow and teal have maybe put aside their differences. At least they should be doing that temporarily. I still don't think this is his chance to win, but God. Red waiting to 50 years earlier seemed really dicey, but it did end up paying off for him as he lost no units early on when everyone else was fighting. So in retrospect, it worked out very, very well for him that he waited. So good enough for reading that situation well. Very, very smart play on the part of yellow. Just bypass all of teal's units and just try and clear out these red units. So yellow is going to be our hero here. We'll be removing red from the middle. Like I said, I don't think this is red's time to win, but it's just so close. And I have to give credit to green for being an absolute badass. For not actually betraying red there. I think I would have pulled the trigger. But now, green gets to make sure that he maintains a very valuable strategic alliance with red. He did not double cross him, and red didn't win the game. So this puts green in a better position to win later. Meanwhile, gray taking so much damage at home. I would not have made that play. I think I would have started freaking out at 50 years, but it did end up working out very nicely for green in the end. And now red must pull back. Power dynamic has shifted, and now it's going to be teal, orange, and yellow fighting for control of the middle. That was really, really, really close, man. Ah. Well, in the meanwhile, it looks like red's being attacked at home by some yellow Malian onagers. Well, that's going to be an annoying nuisance for him to deal with. And he also has to deal with gray on one side. Now, if you're Moon Sorrow, I think that it's time to get some friends, because you do not want to be surrounded by these guys. Not only are you being eaten by green, but I feel like having to deal with red. I know that they are best friends, but if he can negotiate something here... When you're dealing with players who have lost a significant chunk of their base and they're no longer a huge military threat, you always want those guys on your side. You want as many allies as possible that don't have a chance at winning the game, if that makes any sense. In this case, I think that Gray is really unlikely to win at this point. He lost a huge chunk of his base. You know, Purple lost a lot of it early on too. Those are the people that should be your high priority buddies. The people that can help you out a lot. They don't want to lose, and of course, would be out of the game. They want to cling on to that dear hope. But the odds of them, you know, being able to betray you and just kill you are kind of slim. So Gray should be trying to sweet talk his way out of the situation if he can, but it might be too little too late for that. Teal has definitive control of the middle, and this is one of the people that we really have to be concerned about if they actually do end up holding it. That and the Koreans, the green player, mostly because these bombard towers can make it very difficult to remove control of the middle here. It looks like Orange would have control, but, you know, Teal just has a couple elite skirms parked here. Expression says, who takes control of the monument and their units to different players? The player who had units there first. So in this case, Teal's not going to lose control until he loses all of his existing units in the center monument. Yellow looking for an opportunity to push. Gray just being dissolved. He should probably just stonewall this and just try and hide in the corner. I think these players have done enough damage to Gray that they should consider, you know, going for somebody else who could be a significant immediate threat to them. So Green and Orange are going to have to deal with Teal. 50 years remaining, so Orange hopefully has his finger on the trigger. I have no idea where these champions are going. I don't know if this is like HD unit pathing or something like that, or some 3D chess, but unfortunately it looks like these champions, are they just being patrolled in front of the gate? Or are they just not able to path around it? Oh god. I'd like to see someone take a Twitch clip of that. Wow, that was just an absolute disaster. Some bombard towers being built, slowly moving the line forward. Teal has a lot of map control, and it's going to be very difficult to remove all these bombard towers. I think once again, these players are probably waiting a little bit too long, and they're not really seeing the bigger picture here. I think Orange waiting this long is dicey, and yes, okay, he's gonna betray him. Once the timer hits 50 years, it's very difficult for players to kind of evaluate exactly how much time they need to remove control of the middle from somebody. And yeah, now Teal is going to back up. He just has no units here. He's so many bombard towers. It's so much money he's going to lose. So there we go. Orange going to kick Teal off the middle. It looks like we're actually in store for a very long, close game of King of the Hill. Meanwhile, Purple doing a lot of damage to Teal on the bottom of the map. Very nice, well-balanced army on his part. Teal is going to have to... Yeah, I guess this is why he couldn't commit so many military units to the middle, so... his bid at the center was probably not going to last, because he is being attacked at home, so he does have to put priority there. Meanwhile, Green running out of ground to lose. Jeez. It's going to be really difficult for Gray to actually build back into this game. Red counterattacking on Yellow, so Yellow potentially going to die. It's going to be very difficult for Yellow to find a place where he can evacuate to, and I think in this case he would want to evacuate into the corner of the map, as that is a place where he's as far away from any sort of conflict point as possible. This bombard tower is just eating up these honors. It's so much gold lost. You have to be very, very careful with how much gold you do throw away in these engagements. That was an unnecessarily loud attack sound, thank you, HD. Teal has trade cogs? Oh my god. My man. See, trade cogs do turn around almost instantly as one of the changes in patch 4.8, as decisions where they're trying to make trade cogs just a little bit better. So that's really cool. So the trade line... Also, I like this. I really like this in Budapest, and it's great that he is doing it with Orange over here. Because this is a trade line that is going to be a lot easier for him to protect and a lot harder for his opponent to remove, and I frankly don't think that too many people would be checking for trade cogs as opposed to trade carts, so... I wonder how much gold he's going to generate from that over the course of the game. One of the downsides of trade cogs is they typically just get bunched up on each other and they're not very efficient, but ever since the change that had them turn around almost instantly is... made them a lot better. Now Orange has control of the middle. He is going to make the correct play here and build a castle. Try and solidify control. Teal's just really falling behind on the population department. Oh my god, did he get betrayed by Orange? And yet they're still trading. Orange got fortified wall just in case. Oh my god, so many people are going to lose. Yellow says, no value in killing me, he's almost winning. That's true. That's true. These players do have to be very careful about this. And this is something like the bloodlust we've seen possess players in many of my previous King of the Hill videos, where people will just decide that they want to kill somebody and their army will be nowhere near the middle of the map. And this could actually be the end of the game, as all of these players, they've got the bloodlust. Teal, very crippled. Gray, very crippled. Yellow, on the back foot. So right now, it's really just red, green, orange, and maybe purple and teal are still certainly in this. But it's really like red, green, and orange are the three most powerful players here. And we're 40 years remaining. I think orange might win the game. I think that this might be it. As red rallying his troops, recognizing that the clock is ticking. But orange with an excellently placed offensive castle and a forward town center for good measure. Never hurts. Green has already flipped the switch. We see a castle fight. This is pretty cool. He's got a trebuchet deploying, but really these guys just like their military is just not in the right places. Look how many military units Green has on the side. Let it be known, by the way, this is one of the first King of the Hill games where Green wasn't the first player to die first. Actually, was a player that was doing very well this game. Orange has a large army of elite Longbowmen here. Full upgrades on these. Red moving in. People frantically pinging the middle. No one really in a position where they can actually do anything. It's like Teal has to kind of defend himself, so that's where his army is. You know, he's being attacked on both sides. Yellow doesn't really have much of a base, neither does Gray. So it's really kind of just up to... I don't know. It's way too late for Green to actually get his army back in here, and I think that it's going to be very difficult for Teal to actually have a chance to move out since he is being attacked by Orange still. This is when Orange and Teal should be... Yeah, I don't know. Oh man, I think this could actually be it. It's up to Red at this point, basically, because Red is the only player in the game who's somewhat mobilized his army. I mean, I say that, but a huge chunk of his army is actually idle, and he needs to rally that to the middle. Same thing with Green. I think that there was certainly a window of opportunity where these players could have taken their military units, turned them around, and pushed towards the middle. This will be the decisive point. Purple, our hero, will the Avenger be able to win this game? Sending in a huge army of Paladins, will it be enough to clear out this group? Oh my god, it might actually be enough. Purple, our hero. Everybody give Purple your energy. He will clear this out, and now one champion remaining is down. Purple saves the game with like 5 years remaining. Well played, the Avenger. Aoe2. I'm so proud, man. That's my boy. Game is not over yet. Not GG. Orange's victory stolen. Stolen by our hero. I feel like Purple is always the hero in these games. Nicely done. And God, if you're Orange, you have to be upset. Yeah, he would have won this game if it wasn't for the millions of illegal votes. Well. Purple did not expect that from him. Excellent timing with his Paladins. He came at it really just the last minute. And now, once again, Red is in control of the center. We see, though, that this game can't go on forever as players just steadily losing ground. And Green actually in first place because this man just does not want to take any unnecessary fights. He really doesn't. Even when sometimes he needs to. But man, is he playing well. He has like a huge, just well-balanced army, very strong economy, and the fact that he hasn't been taking unnecessary risks means that he is in a good position to win this game. Although I do think now is the time to turn around. As Red has a fairly large army, regrouping, going from this gold mine. Yeah, poor Gray, by the gods. Orange says, Teal, ally me. And I think now is the time to do that, as both of these guys reeling from the loss of so many military units. They are going to have to work together, I think, if they want to claw their way back in this game. Bombard cannons are quite helpful here. You always want to be making some sort of siege weapons to back up your army. Otherwise, these castles and bombard towers are going to cause so many losses for your army. We can see here a lack of siege engineers makes these bombard cannons kill this army so very slowly. It's just awful. But it's one of the things that has balanced out the Spanish. Forward town center will not last. 67 years remaining. Red has a fairly significant sized military, and if he can win this game, snatch it from the jaws of defeat, that would be impressive. I love that he has these cap rams here. Red's been watching my YouTube videos, he knows how this goes. Oh my god. He's building so many forward siege workshops as well, so he can just keep spawning cap rams onto the center, and he also has his forward castle coming down. Hopefully he's sending more than one builder for this. Meanwhile, green, really, he just has way too many military units here. Strategically, removing gray from the game at this point, the amount of time it would take gray to rebuild, it's not going to happen, basically. So, actually finishing him off doesn't really help you that much. And I think that what green wants to do here is to establish some battle lines, really move this line forward, and that way he's ready to switch red to enemy at any point. Meanwhile, a bunch of units walking right through the center monument. Red actually building this castle with only one villager, so this will not last. So green has actually switched to enemies with red again, so he's going to start pushing back. Will this be red's game to win? This is actually very difficult to tell, and that's why I like this. Purple coming in with the paladins. Always nice to be a paladin sim in these free-for-all King of the Hill games because you can just rally paladins from across the map to come in at the last minute while you're tending to your own business. These two guys still fighting. They are still indeed fighting. They might have to put their feud on standby. Green moving in. Still, he's so many trebuchets and just war wagons and everything here. He's not really sending reinforcements, which is good, but I think that his missing population could make this a dicey situation for him. It's really just green versus red, and the main difference is that red has almost all of his military units committed to the middle. He really doesn't have that many idle in yellow's base. Good that he didn't actually necessarily finish off yellow, because again, the odds of yellow winning this game at this point are very, very slim. KotH's not anything. KotH's not everything. Purple trying his best, but he just did not have the support that he needed. 27 years remaining. This could be Torm's game to win. A lot of trebuchets here from green. Green really trying his best, but I feel like he has too much of his military population in the wrong locations, and he does need to just take his units and then move them towards the middle of the map. Teal temporarily putting his fight with Purple on hold. Purple moving in, 20 years remaining. This is actually going to be really close. Not honestly sure if Red's going to be able to hold this, but I'm gonna cross my fingers. I think that Red will be able to hold the line here. Teal moving in on the bottom side. Purple accidentally attacked, moved into that archer range. Every second counts at this point in the game. Purple has so many capped rams here. I think he might be able to do it. This could be it. Oh, these guys just might not be here in time. It's going to be so close. They just have nothing to deal with these trebuchets at the back. Orange coming in as well. Everybody in the world against red. Will he be able to do it? God, he just needs to set Teal to ally. He keeps accidentally killing his own units. Oh, I've seen this happen so many times. No. Some relatively poor control here. Purples, paladins, idle, everyone moving in, but they're not going to have enough time. 5 years remaining. 4. 3. 2. Oh, God. This might actually be it. Just not quite able to focus down the trebuchet in time, and congratulations! GG, well played. Terminator does seize the game. Such a close battle. Only one trebuchet remaining. This one with 146 HP. This one with 74, and only a couple units here. So very close to losing this game, but Red manages to just barely seize it in the end. Everyone rallying towards the middle. They almost did it. They were just a few years too short. If they had 5 more years, then Red would have not seized this game. GG, well played. Terminator had to deal with so many awkward, difficult situations this game, but he comes out on top in the end. Really well done by everyone in this game, so I think everyone played really well. This was an excellent, very entertaining game to watch. Gotta say, I love the ram and trebuchet spam, so when you guys play King of the Hill games, that is the secret trick to success. Still a little sick, oh my god. What an excellent game. Red actually with the largest army in the game. Teal with the most units killed. And orange with the most units lost. I think that really everybody just had very, very strong KD here. Purple with some nice monk defense. We can tell that every player here just played quite nicely. Poor Gray with 165 buildings lost. Even though you wouldn't think so, Teal actually lost the second highest amount of buildings. That's just because his base was so very large. Trade profit here. Wow. The teal and orange is 6,500 gold straight from those trade cogs. So I like the trade cog choice. I think that certainly kept him in the game for a lot longer. All these players have very, very strong economies. Quite a quick, fast castle time here from Terminator, our resident Budapest expert. Excellent Imperial Age timing from himself. 158 villager high. Great to just see every player here with a very large economy. You always want your economy to be at least 100 villagers, probably somewhere closer to 120 in every game of Age of Empires 2. It's the most important thing you can do to improve your game. And it looks like these players did indeed got the memo. So I guess like Terminator had the highest villager high, but he ended up clearing out some of his excess villagers for military units, as he had the most villagers and the most military units. 12 castles out from Gray. 9,000. Wow, over 9,000 stone collected has to be almost a record. What an excellent game of Age of Empires 2. This is not orange, this is brown. Damn it, Skybox. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys, as always. We're going to do another game after this, so if you're watching live on Twitch, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We're doing another game after this. Thoroughly enjoyed this one. I think everyone played really well. If you did enjoy this video, then please do take the time to leave a like rating and a comment below. It does help out quite a bit. Feel free as well to share this video on social media. I do read all of your comments on YouTube, and if you ever mention me or share anything on Reddit, I do read it, so I appreciate it. So thank you so much in advance. And yes, this was a blast. I'm looking forward to all the fun stuff coming in December. I don't know when this will be posted on YouTube, but I might have already made all those announcements by then, so we got a lot of great stuff on the way. Hope you guys are as excited as I am. Stick around, stick around. We're going to be doing another match shortly after this. And I'm looking forward to doing more Age of Empires 2, as well as content for other games. Thank you guys, by the way, for being supportive of Hearthstone and whatnot. It does help out a lot with the longevity of the channel. And we'll be right back after this brief commercial break. Stay tuned.